I hope you're having an amazing day. As always, you can follow me on Instagram if you would like at DreamRare. You could check out my Twitter at Legendary Energy. You could check out my website and other links at legendary.vision. And of course, follow on Facebook for more news analysis, music, poetry, whatnot. I want to talk about something which is the Eminem verse on BET. It's going to be a big talked about story for about a day or two, and then probably no one's going to talk about it again because it's really not that important on a general scale of things. But once again, it's a popular topic, and it was a very strong statement through his rap. And I'm very big into politics, and I'm very big into hip hop. I've grown up on hip hop my whole life, so I think I'm pretty well versed to analyze this, and I'll probably do it a lot more honest than other people. You can decide for yourself, but I want to start out by saying Eminem is an amazing rapper, one of the best rappers ever, and a huge influence on my personal life. I love Eminem. I've heard all his albums. I think he's one of the best rappers, one of the most honest rappers ever, but I'm not really feeling his verse, and especially from a political standpoint, he was making very little sense. Certain points he made were good, but it sounds like he doesn't know what he's talking about. And to do a full analysis, I want to start by saying I've followed Eminem's entire career. A lot of people don't know, but his core fans will know. He started with a record called Infinite. And on Infinite, Eminem was the most positive, he was the most spiritual, he was the most lyrical. He said he believed in God. He was talking about uplifting people, and he was like a real lyrical guy. He had songs Infinite. I forget the entire album and the other songs on it, but it was his most uplifting album. Once he signed to Interscope Records with Dr. Dre, he released the Slim Shady LP, the Marshall Mathers LP. It got really dark. I loved it. He had a lot of real songs on that as well. Rock Bottom's a real one about struggles. The whole thing is real, but it's also very dark. Eminem talks about killing his wife, and a lot of drugs and hating people and a lot of problems, a lot of negativity, but that was what it was. Through his whole career, he was very anti-Bush. Just like I was very, I wouldn't say anti, but for the lack of a better term, anti. I was calling out the wars. I was calling out all of the problems that no one was paying attention to during George Bush. I was doing that, and Eminem was one of the early ones. He cursed off George Bush's wife in one of the songs. So Eminem is no stranger to politics. I've watched his whole career. I think points he's on, points he's off. For the most part, one of the best artists ever. But as we get into it, I just want to say this verse had little to no element of what made Eminem great, and honesty especially is one of the things that made Eminem great. Didn't have a lot of it. First of all, making fun of Trump now, it's not counterculture anymore. It's actually mainstream, and I'm going to read to you some of the mainstream media. Remember, Eminem grew up on being, I hate the wars, I hate the presidents. CNN, Eminem unleashes on Trump. The 11 fiercest lines. BBC News, Eminem's takedown of Donald Trump, the most explosive lines. MSNBC, Newsweek, I could go on and on and on. He's getting massive mainstream media support because it's not rebellious. It goes along with the mainstream media corporate agenda and the, global agenda of the elites, and the people who control the information, the real politicians. Of course they're supporting it, of course they're promoting it. I've seen the fans half and half, people saying it's weak, people saying it's strong. But I'm going to get directly into the lines of it now, and I'm going to explain why I disagree with them. A lot of cool lines in there. There were a lot of hot lines, but he got really political, and the whole verse was anti-Donald Trump. The whole verse he was saying, F Trump supporters, you either got to choose me or him. And I'm going to go line by line. I wrote them down, and I'm going to let you know the verses or the lyrics that I don't agree with and why. Normally, I don't like to be one of those little crabs who, overanalyzes people's music. Like, I don't agree with this, I don't agree with that. But this is such a polarizing topic. It has to do with the President of the United States. It's a real political statement, and now it's a worldwide statement because it's going to affect the wars. It's going to affect people's mental state and their reality. So it's no longer just me being like a little, I hate music critics. They're like, oh my god, that's a 3.5 out of 5, like your album could have been better. I'm not that type of critic. I never analyze music. I think it's lame. As a hip-hop artist myself, I think it's totally corny, a lot of the reviews and the critiques, but this one deserves one because he said a lot of things that I just believe aren't true at all, and he's misleading people with the 3-minute hateful negative verse, and above all, it has no solutions in it. It's just filled with problems, pointing the problems, saying, you're just so bad, but no positivity, no love, no unity. It's all division, in the name of not being division. It's all these things that he's standing up against. He's a hypocrite because he's probably not been paying attention since the George Bush days. He's just going along with the crowd. He's getting older, whatever. I don't know what it is, but much love, but I'm going to start. So the first line that I really, really disagree with, or at least I want to have a conversation about, is he said he'll probably start a nuclear holocaust. And then he, spit some bars about that, like, yo, Trump's going to blow up the world and, fly in a plane above or whatever. It was a hot line as far as rhyming goes. I mean, Eminem's one of the best rhymers ever, but here's my problem with everyone screaming nuclear holocaust and Trump's a madman. You have to understand, Donald Trump is the president of the United States, and he's faced with one of the toughest decisions ever in modern history for a U.S. president. You have North Korea. Whether you love Trump or hate Trump, whether you think he's great or not or whatever, let's put that aside for now. He's faced with the hardest decision ever. It's North Korea who's been threatening us for 15, 20 plus years. And they've been saying, we're going to bomb you, we're going to bomb you, we're going to bomb you, we're going to bomb you. I don't want to go to war. I'm the most peaceful, loving person ever. I believe in peace over war 1,000%, much more than Eminem, who has way more violent lyrics and way more negative lyrics than I could ever imagine writing. It's no offense to him. It's not a diss. I'm just being honest. That's the type of writer he's been, for the better or worse, and I think it's great. I mean, I would never knock him. He's one of the greatest artists ever. But he's saying, oh, Trump's going to start a nuclear holocaust. When it comes to the people who hate Trump, it's a lose-lose. There's nothing that Trump could do. You have Kim Jong-un possibly developing hydrogen bombs, nuclear bombs, things that could blow up entire nations, the things that we didn't want him to get. What can the president do? Eminem, I love you. I appreciate your perspective. What do you think is the right idea? Should we just let North Korea continue to, drop bombs and do H-bomb tests in the ocean and fly bombs over Japan? Is that what you would do, President Eminem? Or do you have a better reason? Because Trump is talking tough. Kim Jong-un's talking tough. It's a hard time. To be honest, I'm an American citizen, so I hope that Trump does great. I know it's an unpopular opinion, like, ooh, let's get bombed and let's all kill ourselves and let's hate the color of our skin and let's feel guilty. I know that's like the trendy thing to do, but if North Korea wins this fight, if it happens, we're not going to exist or people are going to get hurt. So I'm not calling for war. That's the opposite of what I've ever do. But what I'm saying with the Trump haters, I've noticed is there's nothing he can do that's good. It's like if he doesn't do anything, he's damned. If he does do anything, he's damned. With everything, with Puerto Rico, with this and that, they don't care about actual things getting done. They just want to see him fail. And when it comes to nuclear holocaust in North Korea, what's your big solution? Every time I ask somebody who hates Trump, they don't have a solution because it's a very complex issue when it comes to North Korea, their technology, and the fact that they're threatening us when we have the biggest army in the world. I mean, no one knows what to do. They just like to complain. So, of course, Eminem hops on that complaint. It's cool. I agree. I'm very fearful as well. I wouldn't say fearful because I'm not even remotely scared, but, I get it. I'm concerned about nuclear bombs. I've written about them, whatever. Next one. He talks about draining the swamp, and he disses it. And to me, this is the dumbest line from somebody who's supposed to be pro-revolution, anti-system. He says, that's why he keeps screaming, drain the swamp, because he's in quicksand. That was Eminem's line. Of course, when he rhymed it, it was much doper and had a dope rhyme scheme to it. Eminem's great. But he said, that's why he keeps screaming, drain the swamp. Eminem. Sorry, it's a little late. I'm a little exhausted, but I had to get this out. Drain the swamp means get rid of all the corrupt politicians. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump panicking like, whoa, I need to drain the swamp. That's what Eminem's telling his audience. He's like, drain the swamp. Oh, I'm Donald Trump. I'm a big dummy. The statement drain the swamp, whether you love or hate Donald Trump, makes complete sense. That's why progressives and people who are rebels on the left, they agree with it as well. The whole Washington, the whole political system is corrupt, man. Where have you been? Here, I'm going to read you Obama's list in 2016 when Obama was president, and I have much love and respect for him. Here's the amount of bombs he dropped, approximately 26,171 bombs in 2016. Obama dropped bombs in Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Yemen, Somalia, Pakistan. You said nothing, Eminem. You probably had no idea it existed. My point being, this is what drain the swamp means. It's deeper than Obama. That's why I don't get on and blame Obama, because he's just a puppet of the military-industrial complex. He's just a puppet of the military and the banks. This is how it works, Eminem. I thought you knew this. I thought you were anti-Bush and talking all this real talk to the people, trying to get people to dive deep. But, oh, what's he talking about with the drain the swamp? What do you think he's talking about? The fact that we bombed 7 countries, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Yemen, Somalia, Pakistan, and nobody cared, nobody noticed, and now all of a sudden everyone's like, what could he possibly mean? He means that every politician besides maybe Rand Paul, you can maybe pick 5 politicians that are semi-trustworthy. The rest are awful. That's how we got Donald Trump in the first place, because they're such disgusting, terrible failures. Drain the swamp. Get it now, Eminem? They're all terrible. You can drain Donald Trump, but it's not going to drain the swamp. There's a complete sentence that makes sense, much more than what you said. On to the next thing that didn't make sense. He said, when he stands for the NFL, so we can focus on that instead of talking Puerto Rico or gun reform in Nevada. Might as well work for, this is Eminem, who's been talking about, being, killing people, whatever, not being one of those people like Bill O'Reilly, like, oh, you're all a bunch of thugs and criminals. That's not what I'm saying. I don't care that he talks about gun violence and weapons and, stuff like that, but I'm just being honest. That's what he talks about. And he's calling for gun reform after an unsolved mystery in Las Vegas that we still don't know what happened. And it's not even been solved yet. The story keeps changing every day. And he's like CNN. He's like, we need gun control in Nevada and Puerto Rico. Do those sound like 2 things that go in the same sentence? Puerto Rico, a mass disaster where, a bunch of people's infrastructure just got completely destroyed. They might need to be displaced to the U.S. They need food. They need water. They need more infrastructure. They need more help. And Nevada gun control, you might as well just work for MSNBC, CNN, BBC, New York Times, Washington Post. Eminem, the rebel, the person I grew up on, the person that was so counterculture that no one wanted to talk about, he's just spewing talking points from mainstream media, who are the people who start the wars, who are the people that fund the wars, hide the wars, and he's like, I get the Puerto Rico thing. Trust me, I think more people should talk about that. I do think he's right about the NFL. It's a total distraction, and a lot of lines that I didn't include. I'm not a complete hater. There were a lot of really hot lines that made total sense, and that's why I think there needs to be a discussion. But enough with this gun reform in Nevada. No gun reform, no Second Amendment changes. You could take bump stocks away or whatever. No one wants those anyway. But let's figure out what happened in Las Vegas before we do all this stuff. Oh, we need more security, even though their security cameras didn't work. We need gun reform. We need people scanning everything. It's like, no, we need a real law enforcement and a real media investigative unit to do actual journalism instead of being a giant, massive conglomerate that's a PR team that sounds exactly like a 2017 Eminem verse. I'm just being real. He talked about coming home from Iraq and going back out to Africa. Once again, I think that's a great point. We're in Africa. The U.S. Army was in, I believe, Niger, and last week they're like U.S. troops, and we're like, what are we doing in there? What are we doing over here? I agree 1,000% with you, Eminem, on that. But that, I have to say, it's the military-industrial complex. It's not Donald Trump. It wasn't Barack Obama in Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Yemen, Somalia, Pakistan. It was the people who really pull the strings, so we have to go deeper than Donald Trump. How are you going to say, no, don't drain the swamp, Donald Trump's lying, and then say we got to get rid of Donald Trump? That's what somebody who knows nothing says, because if you get rid of Donald Trump, you get Mike Pence, which is the military-industrial complex again. You need to drain the swamp, just like Eminem says. You want to get rid of the wars, drain the swamp. The same thing you're making fun of. It's not that complicated. It's a deep-rooted problem. Why people call it the deep state, why people talk about the real moves that the U.S. has been making and how they've been planning them for a while, and the news isn't quite what it seems. Let's just be real. And this is the last thing that Eminem said that really, really rubbed me the wrong way, especially for someone, if he's talking about unity and standing up for people. He said, because like him in politics, I'm tired, I'm sorry, I would rap this better if I wasn't. Because like him in politics, I'm using all his tracks, because throwing down that piece of shit against the wall till it sticks. Sorry, I just messed that up, but that's not the important part. And any fan of mine who's a supporter of his, I'm drawing a line in the sand. You're either for or against. And if you can't decide who you like more and you're split on who you should stand beside, I'll do it for you with this. F you, the rest of America stand up. We love our military, we love our country, but we effing hate Donald Trump. So he told his fans, he just spewed a bunch of basically elementary politics, like, ooh, what does drain the swamp mean? And oh my God, we're in Iraq. Yeah, but what are we doing there? Do you know what happened in Syria? Do you know what Donald Trump did? Do you know what his policy did? I do. I could run circles around Eminem when it comes to what's going on in Syria. I know exactly what was going on. I know the difference between Donald Trump's policy and Obama's policy, and I know that terrorist groups are disappearing now and the actual Syrian people are taking back over their land. Eminem doesn't know any of this, but yet he says, what does drain the swamp mean? Oh my God, Donald Trump's a Klansman. He's a racist. Oh my God, go back to... Well, he says all this stuff that doesn't even add up remotely on any sort of logical, common sense, or reality basis. And then he says, I'm drawing a line in the sand. My supporters, you either choose me or Trump. F you if you like Trump. Hey, I have a crazy, crazy idea. Don't get mad at me. Don't hate. Just a wild idea. I don't know. For people like Eminem and for the media who keeps just getting so angry and wondering why no one wants to hang out with them. It's like, why do people hang out with the fun guy at school and they don't hang out with the kid who's always screaming and yelling in the corner against the wall? It's because people like to have fun. They like the truth. They like excitement. They don't like massive negativity and emotion. So it's like Eminem spits this verse that basically just sounds like regurgitation of CNN and MSNBC articles. He's like, whoa, Charlottesville. And you're just like, what, dude? Like, that has nothing to do with anything that's going on. And his ultimatum is like, it's either me or you, bro, because I'm so angry, and F you if you don't agree with me. He sounds like the hypocrites in the media and on that side who are like, oh, I don't have any facts, but F you, F you, F you if you don't agree with me. I can't imagine saying that in a rhyme. I'm just being honest. I can't imagine being like, hey, guys, I never do that. I literally tell people on my live cast, I'm like, hey, if you don't agree with me, that's cool. Like, let's have a conversation, and maybe you're right, maybe you're not. But it always ends in a certain way. They start yelling at you, screaming at you. Oh, why are you making money, Anomaly? I wish you made no money, and Google made all the money. It's like, oh, yeah, that's really going to help anyone. But, you know, I like to have a discussion. I would never be like, oh, if you're a Hillary supporter, you're a Bernie Sanders supporter, get the F out of here. I might be critical of Hillary, I might be critical of Bernie Sanders, but I would never scream at supporters and be like, F the F out of here. I might try to wake people up like, come on, man, that doesn't make sense or whatever. You know, I might get a little feisty, but he has no facts, no basis, like no good statements in his rap. Of course, he's a great rapper. He's Eminem, one of the best rappers ever. But then he draws an ultimatum. If you don't agree with my political views, F you. We love the military. We hate you. We hate Trump. You know, we don't agree with you. It's so elementary, it's so basic, and it's so lame. Lame. Eminem, you might as well work for CNN, the rebels at CNN, the real rebel rousers, hip-hop, real urban community stuff like CNN. That's where you need to work, right next to Don Lemon, because that's where you belong, no offense, with this ridiculous rhetoric of lies and establishment spew. You might as well work for the globalists and the people who run the banks and who, run the intelligence communities and who run the military industrial complex. You might as well work with them because you're not working with the American people anymore. Why are you doing this? Why are you fueling the fight? Eminem, I love you, I respect you, but why are you fueling the fight against working class and lower class and upper class people? That's what you're doing. You're saying, fight, Klansmen, don't agree with me, then you're against me. This is war with Donald Trump and anyone who agrees with them. Sorry, Eminem. Donald Trump makes more sense than you do. I'm not hating on you, but you're a rapper who raps about killing your wife and like all this, I'm Superman and I'm going to do a bunch of flips and take pills. Like, that's cool. I know Eminem's had a lot of great speeches, but it's a lot of negative stuff, to be honest. It's like, F them. I love it. I mean, I grew up on this music. I know hundreds of his songs word by word. I'm a massive fan. I'm not hating on him as an artist. He's a great artist, but who do I want to be president? Eminem or Donald Trump? I mean, it's a no-brainer. Donald Trump, man. He's got a plan that makes sense. When it comes to border security and travel security, the truth is, when you take all of the identity politics aside, which is the racist, sexist, everything's racist. I'm Eminem, I'm a CNN, everything's racist. CNN, Eminem. Didn't even realize that. Same thing. Let's look at what they are. Border security at Mexico, there's millions of people trying to get into the country illegally. You have travel ban. There's millions of people and terror groups that are taking over countries like Syria and Libya thanks to Hillary, Obama, and George Bush that no one's talking about. And some of them are terror organizations. And Trump's saying, hey, let's slow it down because let's be honest, our cities are getting jam-packed. It has nothing to do with racism. LA, you could barely drive in. New York City, there's barely any room. They're building all this stuff, but there's no room on the roads. Of course, we have room in our country, but everyone wants to come here. Everyone loves the United States. People from Mexico want to come. People from Canada have to go on visas for 5 years. People from Europe want to come. Refugees want to come from the Middle East. Regular people want to come from the Middle East. And it's disgraceful and disturbing that you scream racism. It's embarrassing to all the Latinos, to all the Middle Easterns, to all the Europeans, and to all the Americans that worked hard to get here legally, or at least at some point where now, I mean, we have to make decisions about safety and laws. I mean, what's Eminem's law policy? It's like Donald Trump's very clear cut with his policy. I don't agree with anything, but it's like, do I want like rationality and like security and like a president who at least tries to break through the political correctness and the identity politics and actually do something that could help? Or do I want a guy who just raps about, a lot of negative stuff and says like, F everybody, F Donald Trump, F this, F that? I'm sorry, that's just not a solution. That's not a political idea. When's the last time you heard Eminem say, oh, this is what we should do, this is that? There's no solutions, it's all hate. And that's the problem with the anti-Trump crowd. For the millionth time, I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I grew up on Nas, I grew up on Mos Def, I grew up on Big L and Big Pun, political stuff, rebellious stuff, Rage Against the Machine. I know the system. I'm a person, I'm a working class person, I'm that type of dude fighting against the system, doing what Eminem's pretending to do, but he's just so far gone, he's making no sense, and he's part of the problem now. All he's doing is spewing problems, and oh my God, this is going to happen. There's no solutions anymore, and that's the problem with that crowd. The manifestation's going to come from a bunch of good people with a bunch of ideas. Say something worthwhile, and Donald Trump might actually do it. But if you just hate on him and call him all sorts of names, he's not going to listen to you because you're not making any sense. You're just screaming emotions. And same with when you make this track, like, oh my God, F you if you don't agree with me. Do you think you're going to win any Trump supporters over like that? Like, oh yeah, I'm totally sold now because Eminem said he doesn't know what drain the swamp means, but he wants me to not like Donald Trump. He's making more sense than you are. I'm sorry. I didn't choose that to happen. Same with every politician. It's like I explain to people in the clearest way. I'm not saying Donald Trump is the greatest thing ever. He's the best thing since sliced bread in America. I don't think that. I think he's a decent, candidate at best as far as like all of the innovation, the 300 million people we have. I think we could get a lot better option, to be honest. But look who he's fighting against. You have Hillary Clinton. I mean, it's a no-brainer. And based on what he did, his actions spoke louder than his words. He's done way more cool, real stuff for the people, for people of different races, religions, and genders than any president ever has. But it's not going to be on the TV and the media, so apparently Eminem didn't get the memo. But it's a no-brainer. I mean, look who he's got. His whole crowd is just screaming. They're so not fun. You have people like Kurt Eichenwald, who's like, oh my God, Donald Trump's presidency is going to be so bad. It's going to be so bad, I'm going to sell all my stocks, all my kids' stocks and education funds. Well, guess what, Kurt Eichenwald? Now all your kids are broke because you're a nasty, hateful crab. Now your kids have no education fund, or they have less money than they would have had because the stock market's at an all-time high. You were praying for the worst, and it's got the best. People like Kurt Eichenwald, the Eminems, the MSNBCs, you're just so not fun. Be more fun. Be more honest. Be more happy. Be more motivated. Give a solution. Kids are smart nowadays. We got smartphones. We got computers. They don't want to hear a bunch of 40-year-old rappers having temper tantrums anymore. That's not cool and trendy anymore. Your temper tantrum aligns with the establishment media, with the military-industrial complex. Eminem, I know he was a big anti-George Bush guy. Who do you think George Bush likes? Not Donald Trump. Obama doesn't like Trump. Bush doesn't like Trump. Hillary doesn't like Trump. Are we supposed to think they all don't like Trump because they're trying to save the day from all the wars? No, they don't like him because he's going against the system. Is he a little obnoxious sometimes? Totally. Is he borderline ridiculous on his Twitter? 1,000%. He's a complete madman. He's an internet troll. America, hired an internet troll for the president of the United States. But is he worse than what we've had before. I can't say that. I think he's better. I'm not saying he's the be-all, end-all. That's how bad politics were. Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Yemen, Somalia, Pakistan. Bombs dropping in all those countries, and nobody said a word. It's just what was happening. You want to talk about overseas? You want to talk about the swamp? There's a swampity swamp, Em. Sorry, bro. There just is. There's a huge swamp. They're all in on it. And you got to drain the whole swamp like Donald Trump says. It's just funny. Once again, much love to Eminem. Much love to Eminem fans. Much love to people who thought that was the dopest verse ever. That's cool. This is America. It's the greatest country ever. That's why everybody wants to come here. And everybody, waits 10 plus years and spends $20,000 just to get to the United States when we're overcrowded. And we don't even take care of our own people. Why do you think Americans are getting upset? You have Latinos and Middle Easterns who spent decades to get here to be proud to be an American, and now you're just taking a dumpity-dump all over their faces and saying, oh, well, look at the DACA kids. That's great. God bless the DACA kids too, but it's like you care more about illegal immigrants as political props than you do the hundreds of millions of citizens who are getting screwed. You're telling them that the healthcare is great when they know the health system's bad. A lot of them are nurses. A lot of them have healthcare and pay the spiking premiums, and you're like, shut up. CNN says Obamacare is great and everything Trump does is bad. Everything the news says is lying, and anybody like Eminem who just regurgitates their lies is not being very honest, and they're certainly not helping everyday people. That's why Trump gets stronger. That's why the silent majority is real, because not everyone agrees with you. So if you say it's me versus Trump, I'm choosing Trump. I'm sorry, I'm just being honest. I don't think he's the greatest thing ever, but are we talking about rapping? If we're talking about a rap battle, I'll choose Eminem. If we're talking about the president, I choose Donald Trump. I'm sorry. It's just what it is. And much love and respect. Let's not divide people. Let's not tell people if you don't agree with me, you don't get out of my face, whatever. It's getting obnoxious. And one last note before I leave, I just want to say, Kid Rock, huge Donald Trump supporter. He's doing campaign speeches at his shows. He's Kid Rock saying, running for Senate, running for a position, huge conservative, and Eminem, a huge, I guess I don't like to use label, a huge liberal, a huge CNN employee. Eminem's a huge trendy, a huge Colin Kaepernick activist. I don't know what the label is for Eminem, give him his own label, but you have two people from Detroit, two of the biggest rappers to ever come out of Detroit. They both happen to be white rappers. One is a huge Trump supporter, and one is a huge Trump critic. He's saying, if it's either you or against me. So, to me, the only rational solution would be a Kid Rock Eminem rap battle, or even better yet, a Kid Rock versus Eminem political speech battle, and then a rap battle, because let's be honest, Kid Rock would get absolutely destroyed probably in a rap battle. Kid Rock's just not up to par with Eminem when it comes to hip-hop. But when it comes to political ideologies and not being politically correct, Kid Rock's got the upper hand. Eminem's got some good points. Let's make it happen, people. Come on. Detroit's finest. Kid Rock versus Eminem political battle. I know they're throwing blows at each other. They're like, you got to stand with me. You got to stand with me. Let's do it. That's my analysis. Once again, this is a rare hip-hop analysis. I think most hip-hop critics are total lames. Like, oh, I think this isn't a good song. Like, I'm not that type of person. I think the criticism that a lot of people get is just so corny. But when it comes to politics, this is not just a hip-hop song anymore. This is a mainstream media, and that's what I do on this channel. I debunk mainstream media lies, and I analyze the news. Not because I like to. I can't stand the news. Politics is obnoxious. It's a bunch of negativity, people who want money and power, the biggest liars in the world. I can't stand politics, and honestly, the news is disgusting to me. That's why I make my own news, because I want to make it better, more optimistic, and more honest. But this is not just a hip-hop song anymore. I'm not a rap analyst. This is in the New York Times, People, BBC, Billboard, E! Online, CNN. It's in Newsmax, Newsweek, NBC. It's everywhere. It's a mainstream media story. You think that they're embracing this story to help people? No, they're using this story like they're using Colin Kaepernick, like they're using the activists, like they're using the feminism movement, like they're using the social justice movement. They've all been hijacked. And the elites are using it to their advantage. The people who owned the entertainment industries and the news companies and the people who really start the wars, it's the swamp, or whatever the other term is. I'm a little bit tired. I've gone already further than I thought I would go. I was going to save it till the morning. Probably could have been slightly better, but I think I got the point across mostly. Much love Eminem, much love people who agree or disagree, but let's be honest, that rap, skill-wise, is pretty cool, but politically accurate-wise, this is the hip-hop / realer version of Snopes and PolitiFact. Most of what you said was just complete backwash from the major news corporations who have hid all of the wars in the past 8 years. Hid them. You knew nothing about Syria. You knew nothing about Libya. Nobody talked about it over the past 8 years because they never told you, and now they're promoting Eminem's verse. Coincidence? I think not. Thank you guys for listening. If you'd like to donate to my news analysis, link will be below. That's my third live video of the day. I didn't even go to sleep yet. I'm going to be on Richie Allen's news show on davidike.com. I'm excited about that. It's going to get really trippy. We're going to go deeper than deep. If anybody knows David Ike, it's a blessing, man. It's going to be epic. Richie Allen, I think my interview's in 7-8 hours, so I have to go to bed and wake up. Thank you guys for listening. Have a good day, and check that out at 12 o'clock Pacific time, 12 o'clock to 12:30. I'm going to be on Richie Allen's show. Check my Twitter. I'm going to post a link and retweet that when I wake up. Thank you so much. Have a good night.